chain drug review and mass market retailers video forum. Brought to you by the Emerson Group.
Hello everyone, I'm Jeffrey Wald, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Media IQ. Welcome to a special edition of our video forum. We're here in Boston today at the Future of Commerce Conference and talking with some of the leaders of CVS, including Musab, Balbale, Chief Merchant. Great to have you with us.
Thanks, Jeff. Great to be here.
You made a presentation earlier today where you talked about a number of very interesting things, and one of which was value, and that's a major focus for CVS. You said it comes in a number of forms and you're trying to tailor value to your customer base. Can you talk about that initiative?
Yeah, I think retail fundamentally is about value, selection, service, and we know we have an opportunity to continue to sharpen our value proposition with customers. And in that value proposition is everything from the price people pay on shelf, to how they feel when they walk in the stores, to the service they get. And we are working on all dimensions of that value proposition, but in particular, we're trying to make sure that we just keep simplifying our price and promo structures to make the economic value for customers much more apparent.
And you said, I believe, that you've managed to make about a third of the progress you want to on that front.
We have, yeah, over the last 3 years.
Okay. And how will you take that forward? How will you go after the remaining 2/3?
With, I think, a real discipline on 3 dimensions. The first is we tend to measure gross profit and gross margin in the industry, but we are equally aware that like investors measure operating income. And so we're trying to make sure that we are disciplined through our processes to create efficiencies that we can use to fund part of that journey. I think the second is we are a large retailer. We have 9,000 locations around the country. And with 9,000 locations, there's always different demand dynamics and demand curves at the store level. And so as we get much more sophisticated in thinking through what's the right assortment at the right store, there's economic benefit that comes not just in increased sales, but reduced write-offs and so we're recapturing lost sales effectively. And so we're using that as a way to drive total margin growth within the business. And then the third is the same sort of reality of each store being an individual location translates over to how pricing needs to be reflected at the store level. And so we are building tools to help us be much more precise on thinking about price elasticity at the store level that should make those investments be more impactful at the store level.
You also talked about embedding the store more closely into the community than it already is. What will that mean? Localization, one piece of that. I know you're also working on store formats and what goes on in the store, what the experience is in the store. Can you talk about that a little bit?
We already are a member of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we're leaning into is taking ownership and more responsibility of the roles we play in communities already. So oftentimes when there's a community disaster, we are the first store that is up and helping community members find not only products that we offer, but also charging their cell phones, making sure the prescriptions are ready. So a large portion of our colleagues actually live in the same zip code of the store that they work in. And so people talk about our CVS as like my CVS, even though there might be another CVS 2 or 3 miles down the road. And so what we're really focused on is how do we really lean into that relationship we have with the customer already. Mm-hmm. And certainly there's merchandising elements to that, whether it could be as simple as localizing the assortment to have local sports teams or college sports teams and their apparel represented in the stores, to thinking about like assortment that is specific for that particular region, And then more specifically, looking at the information as to how people shop a store, whether it be for grocery, for health, for more naturals versus more legacy items, to tailor the assortment on the edges to actually be much more localized.
And are you using ExtraCare to find those answers?
We're using fairly large data sets, so ExtraCare allows us to understand the customers that are shopping in a particular location, and then we're marrying with that competitor information and internal information that is outside of that store. So like what are other stores that sort of have the same set of attributes, try to put together essentially demand curves at the store level.
How big a role is AI going to play in enabling you to make these moves toward localization and I guess ultimately to personalization?
Yeah, the amount of not only data but analytics is massive when you start to get into localization. So when I look at the number of store product price and promo combinations, we get to nearly 1 trillion combinations. That level of variability is, or has been historically, like really hard and certainly really expensive to manage. And so machine learning and other sort of modern tools allows us to actually be much more facile at understanding and then actioning on those data sets.
We've talked mostly about localization. What about that next step, personalization? How far away is that? Is that 5 years away? Is it 10 years away? What do you see?
Yeah, I think it's all part of the same ambition, right? Which is to make an individual feel like they're talking not to a large enterprise, but to somebody that knows them. And so localization is essentially personalizing the assortment and selection in stores, but with that comes increased personalization in the communication with a customer of ours. And so we're looking at really making the experience much more intimate, from how we talk to you to what it feels like when you walk in the store to the products you have on shelf. But it's all part of that same larger ambition.
Couple final questions for you. I know you've done some work on store formats, and how will what goes on in the store change in light of all the things that we've been discussing, and also the role of e-commerce?
Yeah. So what's really exciting is that when we start to localize stores, the question doesn't become what's the format to scale. The question becomes what's the right format for a particular location. And so everything from small formats that we're testing to our Health and Wellness 2.0 format that we came out with a few years ago, we're trying to take that answer and apply it with the lens of like, what are the particular geographies or territories in which that format might actually succeed? And that's a much more interesting question than a binary yes or no, did it succeed or not succeed? And so as we get better at understanding our communities and serving our communities, we're going to start to be able to be much more facile at executing the right format for that particular community.
And finally, how does your approach to front-end merchandising, how is it affected by CVS Health's broader mission of being a multifaceted healthcare provider?
Yeah, so we are the front door, quite literally, to what CVS Health as an enterprise aspires to offer customers or offer patients. And we look to meet that role in our CVS ecosystem in two ways. The first is we are, in many ways, the aggregator of patients or customers. So almost 2/3 of our traffic in our retail box comes from front store, which is, I think, surprising for me, at least when I first saw that information point. And what that results in is a strategy that is really focused on building deeper customer engagement and customer attachment. So the more customers we have coming in our stores, the more customers we have coming frequently in our doors, the more likely it is for us to be able to introduce them to the other parts of our healthcare ecosystem. The second is making sure we continue to be really disciplined on expressing that health and wellness authority in the categories in which we can. And so things like tested to be trusted, which make sure customers can feel really safe about the products they buy at CVS, to Beauty Unaltered, which helps customers, that not have false expectations of what beauty imagery should look like. All of those are elements that reinforce the trust in the health and wellness category that we've built over the last few decades.
Well, it's a great journey you're on, and we look forward to following you as you make more progress.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Musab.
Yeah.